place of the injured Drew Brees, and you also have Josh McCown in Cleveland starting in place of Johnny Manziel, because Josh McCown only lost a job due to injury, and now he is no longer injured, despite the fact that he's not very good, and Manziel actually won them their only win of this regular season in his lone start of the season. While I am not by any means a Johnny Manziel fan, I do not think he is going to be a very good NFL quarterback at all. He could be mediocre. He could be serviceable. He could be the quarterback of a winning football team. I just don't think that he's ever going to be any Pro Bowl Hall of Famer type of guy or anything like that, but that's not to say that he can't find ways to be successful as a quarterback in the NFL. So when I saw that McCown was starting, a home field advantage was out the window. Browns defense was out the window. I want the Raiders against anybody. Anybody going against a McCown, give me them. So that was the thinking there, and I got it right. Also, Derek Carr, second-year quarterback for the Oakland Raiders, and Amari Cooper, rookie wide receiver for Alabama. He is on pay. He is your leading candidate right now for Offensive Rookie of the Year. It didn't take him long to figure it out at all. He's getting 100-yard games pretty much every week now. So another guy that you like having on your fantasy team at the moment, should you be fortunate enough to. I've got him, I want to say, in 2 or 3 of my leagues. All right, moving on. We had the Colts on the road barely squeak out a victory over the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. Final score of that one, 35-33. The bottom line on this one is the Colts got the win. And the crazy thing is, I want to say I'm pretty dang sure that with one win, the Colts are now in a 3-way tie for first place in their division with the Tennessee Titans at 1-2. And the Jacksonville Jaguars at 1-2, and you know what? I want to say the Houston Texans 1-2 as well. I'm pretty sure it's a 4-way tie. Everybody with a losing record at 1-2 in the AFC South. But I was very happy to see the Colts get that first victory. I am still sticking by them as my Super Bowl pick. However, that defense of theirs is going to be very difficult for them to overcome. And Andrew Luck just has not looked at all like Andrew Luck so far this season. And a lot of their players on the offensive side of the ball seem to be having a hard time staying healthy. You've got T.Y. Hilton falling into that category. I think you're always going to have the older veterans like Andre Johnson and Frank Gore, potentially falling into that category as well. But like I said, they were able to eke one out in the closing minutes of the game in Tennessee over their division opponent Titans, and I want to say the Colts now have by far the longest active division winning streak in the NFL currently, and I want to say it's the third longest winning streak against division opponents ever, maybe even the longest. That was the interesting tidbit I saw from that game that I wanted to make a point to mention as well. Other than that, T.Y. Hilton was on the injury chart. He did end up playing, not uber producive, but decent. And then for the Titans, their running back core just continues to be a bunch of question marks. Again, the only Tennessee Titan you want on your fantasy football team playing on a weekly basis, if you've got a season-long team, would be tight end Delaney Walker. He's the only guy to have there. Moving on, we had the Pittsburgh Steelers winning on the road against the St. Louis Rams 12-6. This was a fairly, obviously it was a pretty defensive, semi-unentertaining game. You would think that would bode well for the Rams winning at home with that's kind of their style MMO anyway. However, the Pittsburgh Steelers scored a touchdown. The Rams didn't. That was the difference. However, even though the Steelers won the game, the Steelers may have been the biggest losers on that day as well. How is this possible, you ask? Well, that is because their franchise Super Bowl winning, potentially Hall of Fame one-day quarterback, Big Ben Roethlisberger, suffered a leg injury. I want to say it was a knee injury, knee ligament injury. Might be ankle, but I'm pretty sure it's knee ligament injury. and he is out an expected 4 to 6 weeks. I also heard that it's much more likely they're expecting more on the 6-week side than the 4-week side, and that it also could be longer yet. No way to really know this early on in the injury. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, for likely at least the next 4 weeks, if not longer, will be without Ben Roethlisberger as their quarterback. Right now, Michael Vick. That's right. Yes, that Michael Vick. Yep, the dude with the dogs from 10 years ago, whatever. That Michael Vick. He is your current starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers this week and for the next at least 4 weeks likely to come, maybe even more. So, big, huge blow for the Steelers there. They are going to look for them to rely much more heavily now, even than they were already, which they were one of the best running teams in football anyway. But look for them to rely a ton on their ground game using Le'Veon Bell now that he is back, using D'Angelo Williams since he has proven he can produce. They'll definitely want to keep Le'Veon fresh, if they're going to be using him more, or relying on him more, I should say. And you're gonna see more designed runs for Michael Vick at quarterback as well. The big question I seen on ESPN all week is, do you think that Antonio Brown's 5-catch, 50-yard, game in a row streak is going to end, where he has gotten 5 catches or more and 50 yards or more for a ton of games in a row now? I don't remember what the exact count was. I don't know that it will, I don't know that it'll be broken this week 4 here, but it will definitely be broken. I think it will stop at some point within the next 4 weeks with Michael Vick or the other guy, whoever that is yet, at quarterback. Okay, but anyway, and for the St. Louis Rams, Todd Gurley made his NFL debut. He is healthy enough to play now. He didn't light anything up, obviously. The team only had 6 points. Nick Foles struggled, but they were in it at the end there. There was a drop with a minute to go on 4th down that was originally ruled a catch and then overturned on replay. But so the Rams, they'll be okay. You don't like to lose at home, but if you're going to lose at home, lose to a non-conference, non-division, non-conference team, and hold them to 12 points. And then, of course, we had my Minnesota Vikings easily taking care of the San Diego Chargers. That game was here in Minnesota. Vikings won 31-14. I will give you my take on that in more detail a little later. Jacksonville Jaguars on the road in New England just got destroyed. The final score on that, 51-17. Holy guacamole. Patriots just pounding the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. And the Jags defense is usually actually a really good defense. Surprised. Honestly, I am surprised that they would give up more than 35 to anybody, even if that anybody is the New England Patriots in Foxborough. Julius Thomas, tight end, not back yet for the Jags. Other than that, no real notable player news or anything like that there. New England Patriots are going to be on bye this next week, as this current week here features the first set of byes, and the Patriots and the Titans are the teams that have byes. We've also got, so Gronk with his 4 receiving touchdowns on the year, who you'll recall I said a few weeks ago is going to make NFL history and become the first tight end ever to win the NFL Offensive Player of the Year award. Just wanted to toot my own horn there. No other purpose other than that. All right, so now to anti-toot my horn, getting to back-to-back games that I picked wrong. All those games that I just mentioned, with the exception of the Bengals beating the Ravens, I picked correctly last week. Every single one I had the correct winner. Now we get to 2 of the other 4 that I didn't pick correct. I had the Saints winning on the road at Carolina. They did not. They lost to the Panthers 27-22. Luke McCown, as I mentioned earlier, was the quarterback for the Saints in that game. Drew Brees was out with injury. Update on Drew Brees, it sounds as though he is probable for this week and will likely play. All right, and then unfortunately I was wrong on this one because I hate the Eagles and I want Chip Kelly to lose every game he ever coaches for the rest of his life because I can't stand the guy. Philadelphia Eagles on the road win 24-17 over the New York Jets. DeMarco Murray did not play much, if at all, in this game for the Philadelphia Eagles. However, they had by far their best running performance of the season. Ryan Matthews played extremely well. And moving forward, DeMarco Murray is still listed as questionable on the injury list. He, I want to say, has 11 yards on 21 carries. That's right. His yards per carry this year is with the Philadelphia Eagles is a half a yard. He's got twice as many carries as he does yards. Not twice as many yards as he does carries. Which either way, that wouldn't be good. 22 yards on 11 carries, that's not good either. That's terrible. So definitely look for Ryan Matthews to be a real great fantasy football value this week for the Eagles in a one-day league, or if you've got a bye week or injury issues and you're looking for someone to plug in your lineup. Ryan Matthews is a good option, so long as DeMarco Murray is, there's still health concerns. He can even play, but if he's, going to have a limited workload or things like that, Ryan Matthews is a great choice. But I was bummed to see the Jets lose that game at home because I hate the Eagles, not because I like the Jets. And I don't hate the Eagles, I hate Chip Kelly. I actually like the Eagles, but I hate Chip Kelly. So, anyway, moving on. Back to games that I got right. The Houston Texans won at home over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was their first win of the season. They won that by a final score of 19-9 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now news, Mike Evans is back. He was out the first couple weeks, not playing much. He is back. Houston Texans seem to be doing better with Ryan Mallett at quarterback than they did with Week 1 starter Brian Hoyer. Duh. If only they listened to Balls Deep Sports Talk, they would have known that and possibly won in Week 1, but oh well, got to learn the hard way. Yeah, let's see, but yeah, I had that one right. San Francisco 49ers lost on the road to the Cardinals 47-7. That is how bad the 49ers are. That's what made me so fired up on that Week 1 loss that the Vikings suffered at their hands. The Niners are terrible. They're one of the worst teams in all of football this year, period, end of story. Cardinals are pretty darn good, and they're playing at home. Yeah, destroyed them, 47-7. And that's it. That's your story there. Bills was the fourth and final one I got wrong. The Buffalo Bills on the road easily beat the Miami Dolphins by a score of 41-14. So the Bills, coming off their butt whooping by the Patriots 2 weeks ago, were fired up and ready to do some butt whooping of their own last week against division rival Miami. Got that one wrong. I picked the home team Miami. All right, and then closing out the week strong, I had the Seahawks at home over the Bears. Obviously, they won that 26-0. Jimmy Kleinsausen was starting at quarterback. Jimmy Clausen, excuse me. Yeah, Jimmy Kleinsausen would actually be better, probably, at quarterback for the Bears than Jimmy Clausen. Unless you're talking to Mel Kiper Jr., that is. But that's your story with the Bears. Also, the Bears, notably, since that game, made 2 trades where they traded away defensive players Jared Allen and John Bostic. And they traded them to other teams for draft picks. So they are already tanking somewhat, looking to move pieces. Don't be surprised if Matt Forte is traded, or Alshon Jeffrey, but more likely Matt Forte or Martellus Bennett. Any of those guys. Don't be surprised if those guys, one of those guys, or some of those guys are traded. I know Forte and Jeffrey both are approaching contract years, but it definitely looks like the Bears are in tank mode already here after Week 3. Look for them to contend for the number 1 pick in the draft, and maybe get a quarterback to replace Jay Cutler, who, when he might play this week, but I would expect him to be out at least this coming week yet. But keep an eye on that if you're interested in the Bears at all. But it's not going to make a difference. The Bears are going to lose whether Cutler's out there or not, or whether Clausen's out there. but they're a safer bet to lose if Clausen's out there. Trust me. But so then wrapping up last week's game on Sunday.